I think you're in a great example to show people and for people to hear and listen to this, that even if you reach the top of the world in something, of an identity, of whatever event that you're in life, you can still fall susceptible to criticism and voices. And how hard is it to keep a positive thought process for yourself, even when you're at the top? How hard was it for you?
I think it's difficult. I think also in the moments that you think are going to be everything and at the ultimate top and the goal that you always had doesn't necessarily feel like what you thought, at least in my experience.
Give me an
I remember
example.
my third Olympics, I finally win the 200 meters. So I
Is this
got those
London?
two.
Where is
This
this?
is London in
London.
2012. So those first two Olympics, silver medals. I get to that third Olympics and I'm like, okay, I've done it. Like I finally put it together. I get that gold medal. And I remember feeling, I think the emotion I felt more than anything was relief. It was like, okay, that weight is off of my shoulders. Like I finally did the thing that I hadn't done yet. And obviously, like I'm happy, I'm joyful and all of that, but I had built it up to be so much that I just didn't live up. I thought my life was going to just be like completely different. I remember coming home from London and, amazing, cool things are happening, but pretty much like everything is the same. Like
After 2 months of press and the tour, people celebrating you, people move on.
you move on to the next thing and you're with yourself. And I think that it took time to unpack, but that was the moment where I really understood like it's about so much more than the track stuff. Like there's got to be more to it than that. And so I think in the moments where you have everything, it's that there's more purpose there, that there's a bigger reason for it.
That's so interesting you say this. I'm going to, relate in a much lower level than you because I didn't win a Olympic gold medal. But when I was at the national championships in the decathlon, I was telling you this earlier, and the last race, the second day of the decathlon, it's a 1500. I was exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
Exhausted. I did not want to run, and I was not a distance guy. I was
Yeah.
like, put me in 100, and that's about as much as I want to go. And I knew, my coach said, you can't let these guys beat you, these certain guys, and you can't let these guys beat you by this many seconds. So you kind of got to like know where you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I got to see, can I even break my PR? Like I need to get this time. And I remember crossing and it was pretty tight. And she goes, I don't know, like it's tight because I was in 9th place.
Okay.
Going into the final event. And the top 8 is the All-Americans.
Man.
And so I'm just sitting there for about 15 minutes as they're calculating all the numbers before they get the podium up and they start calling everything. And I knew that if my name was not called first, because it went from 8th to 1st, I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my name was called right away. So I was like, oh, like this weight, this relief.
Yeah.
Because it was like training for so long to try to create this goal to happen. But here was the funny thing. I was happy, but late that night at dinner, I started to get like this, I don't know if it was an expectation hangover. I don't know if I was supposed to feel something different, but I almost kind of got a little mad and angry and had a little bit of an attitude energetically because I think I was supposed to feel something else.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
Now, this was a dream I had my entire life at that point. As a 22-year-old to be, go to the national championships and be an All-American. For some reason, I thought like all my relationships would be better with my parents when they were there, when they were struggling. And I thought things were just going to be fine. And it wasn't.
Yeah. I've been there.
Right?
Yeah. And to me, the crazy thing is like when it was the disappointment, I felt that, that I felt like that was a devastating feeling. But when it was the success, it didn't feel as I thought it should feel. And I think, every person is different, but I think oftentimes people who have success feel that way, and you have to unpack what that is for you. And for me, it's like, it's the journey also, it's this process. Like that's where the magic happens, like along the way. And I was able to kind of look back and say like, oh, wow, like I've had this amazing road to get to this process. And that's where I became like the person that I wanted to be. Like that was the beautiful part of it. Like this is just the end result. But I think there's something about embracing those ups and downs. And for me, the silver medals along the way that, that's a huge part of it.
Oh, man. Silver is
It's hard to, yeah.
Silver is hard to talk about because there's so many people in the world that would dream to have a silver
I get
medal.
it. Yeah.
To just go to the Olympics and win a silver medal is like unheard of for the world, most of the world.
Absolutely.
But when you're the best, a silver is probably one of the most devastating things. I'd rather get a bronze than a silver.
That's what
Right?
everyone feels. Yeah.
I'd rather get third place and know, oh, I had a lot more training to do,
Yeah.
or they were just way better than
They
me.
always say if you look at the medal stand, like the silver position is always like
the
the
frowning.
most unhappy, you know, because the bronze is like really happy.
I made it.
Obviously the gold, but yeah, that silver it's
And
kind
you
of
got
a
it
tough
twice back to back
one.
Olympics.
Back to back.
Oh
It
man,
was
that's like a knife that just, the emotional wound.
Yeah, we're talking about hundreds of us, you know, like
Oh no.
how do you improve that?
Oh
So
gosh, it makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
And it's like 8 years of your life for 2 silver medals, essentially. How did you, after the second one, compose yourself and go back into the process and not think about the result?
it was really hard not to think about that result. That like definitely, even to this day, like when I see pictures from Beijing, like it takes me back to a very not great place. But I think just pulling myself out of that, you know, was hard. I had to allow myself to feel it all.
To
like,
grieve, to
yeah,
be angry,
like
sad.
this wasn't what I wanted to be. Like I did. It was a disappointment. Like feel all those emotions are valid. But then once like I make the decision to take on the new goal, then it's like committing to that and saying like, I'm going to show up and give this all. And I think I also had to come to a place where maybe it wasn't going to come together. You know, maybe that wasn't for me. I'm glad it was. But
yeah, it feels good to get that monkey off your back.
yeah, but I think you have to have the acceptance that like success doesn't always mean the gold medal, you know? Like you can do a lot of work along the way and you can be successful without having the thing that is typically defined as the ultimate.
I'm so glad you're saying this. And again, there's people going to be saying, well, yeah, but you got the gold medal, so it's easy for you to say this.
Fair.
However, I was telling you off camera that for 9 years I was playing with the USA national team for team handball. And the dream was to go to the Olympics. And I haven't qualified for it yet. I'm not saying I'm not going to, but it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And even though in 9 years we didn't qualify for the Olympics, I have got to live experiences and meet people and travel the world and play against Olympic teams at the highest level and train and get hurt and get better and all these different things that happened to me. Even though the dream didn't come true, it was still a dream come true.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
I get chills just thinking about like I pursued it. I was on the pursuit for almost a decade of something that I dreamt about.
Yeah.
That I felt like was calling me forth to go after this thing. And it has been a beautiful journey. Now, there is still sadness that I haven't qualified for the Olympics.
Yeah.
There's still some let down emotions. There's still some bruises and pain that I've had to experience. However, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been incredible, the journey and who I became in the journey. So there's only one champion in the Olympics or in the sports. There's only like so many people who are number one at that thing for that season. It doesn't mean you can't become number one in your life in the pursuit of that thing.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes the dream isn't what you imagine. That doesn't mean that it's not fulfilling. It doesn't mean that you're not on the path that you should be. And I think that's true in so many different aspects of life. Like we might set out to do this thing, but maybe that's not the thing that's for us. Maybe it's this thing over here. And you don't find that out without, starting off on one path and you end up where you're supposed to be. And even in my life, in my career, like, yes, it was amazing to win a gold medal. Like, do I think that's my absolute purpose? No, like, I think I'm living it now. Like, I think it's advocating for women. I think it's having impact. Like, those are the things that to me will leave a greater legacy and impact than, just the gold medal.
Yeah. You talked about your circle of coaches and mentors and team that you had for the last really 25 years. Who is the most influential person during that time, throughout the whole journey, that really taught you valuable lessons that you still live with today after your track and field career?
I feel like there's so many people who poured into me, and everyone from my coach Bobby to his wife Jackie Joyner Kersey. She's been just
St. Louis.
Yeah.
I lived in St. Louis for a while, so
an incredible mentor who just like made it real for me. Like obviously she's this like iconic athlete, but like the best person who just, when I got that second silver medal in Beijing, just like constantly checking on me, like, are you good? Are you okay? Like that has been incredible. I think obviously my family has just been huge in this, but my brother is someone who like specifically sticks out. You know, we work together. He's my big brother. Like he's a hero to me, but I think about like all the hard parts of my career. He's been that constant, and he's challenged me, and he's encouraged me. When I was going through the whole Nike thing, like he empowered me. Even we started Sage together, and just him feeling like, you know, why wouldn't I be able to do this? You know, I feel like we all need that person in our life who's going to like speak into us and challenge us to do the thing that we might be scared to do, but that we're supposed to do. So, yeah.
What's the thing you love about your brother the most?
Gosh, I think the way he sees the world. Like it's a very beautiful way. Like he sees the positives. He's like very much a visionary in the way that, for me, I think I'm like the opposite. I'm like, I see all the negativity and like, oh, well, all the obstacles that could get in our way. And like, he sees this beautiful like end result. And I think that's what like, we work really well together because we complement each other well with those things. But I love just the way that he sees the world and that he sees people. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'm curious about, I'm a huge fan of mindset. I've been studying it for a long time, from my athletic days, but also just in the business world, and everyone that I've interviewed here for the last 10 years. In the last 1,400 episodes, I've been fascinated by people at the top of their game, like yourself, who have been consistent with it for years. I'm curious, in your experience, what was the greater fear for you to overcome? Was it the fear of failure, the fear of success, or the fear of other people's opinions about you?
Ooh, that's a heavy one. I think it would be the fear of failure. I think the fear of like dedicating my life to something and not reaching that point. And I think along with that also comes the fear of like what other people think, the embarrassment. Like I think it goes hand in hand. But for sure, those were probably the things that stick out.
Were you never afraid of success?
No, success was never, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I never really let my mind like go there, or that's not really, the medals never like, the physical medal, like that wasn't really what it was about. It was like, can I do this thing? Like, can I accomplish it? And I guess I never really thought too much of what would happen if it happened. It was more so like, if it doesn't happen, the weight of all of that. Yeah.
Who was the athlete that you either trained with or against, or men's and women's team in the world in track and field that you felt like had the most incredible mindset? Like just the eye of the tiger, killer mindset every time you'd see them on the track. Maybe you trained with them, competed against them, or watched them. Men or women, who was it in the last 20 years that was the ultimate competitor mentally?
I mean, for me, it's Kobe Bryant, like outside of my sport. Like, I've just ever since I had the pleasure of meeting him, just the ultimate mindset, and just even trying to like break that down a bit, and just the way that he approached and loved the game of basketball. To me, that just fascinated me. Like there was something just so pure about the pursuit of that, and the pursuit of only kind of accepting this greatness and that excellence and just bringing that to every single time he touched the basketball.
He was incredible. What about track and field? Who was the athlete that you...
The athlete that in track and field.
That you got to watch or witness, or maybe it was just one performance where you were just like, you witnessed an energy before race, during, and after that was like unbelievable.
I competed a lot against Veronica Campbell-Brown in my race. Like that, when I got those 2 silver medals, she got golds. But I always just had a really great respect for her. I felt like the way she approached it, like always bringing her A game, and in return, I felt like it pulled more out of me. And so to me, there was always just a mutual respect there. And of the craft and of how you approach like the sport. Like that's something that I could really appreciate and that you didn't always see.
Sure. And what about on the men's side?
The men, I mean, obviously, I think the way that Usain ran, like there was always something that was like that I just couldn't grasp because like there's obviously like just the talent level alone blows you away.
Because would they race first and then you guys run afterwards, or
It kind of flip flop sometimes, but I've been
if you're doing the 200, it's right after each other, right?
Yeah, usually. I mean, but I've been in the stadium, some other times when he was competing and I wasn't, and just to be able to like witness the things that he did. I think the thing that always stuck out to me is like it seemed so effortless. Like it was such a different experience than myself because I was like, I got to be like dialed in the zone. Like one thing can't go wrong. And like, he's having fun. And
he's fist bumping people right before the blocks. He's hanging out. He's falling over himself. His
hands are up before, way before the finish line. So to me, I was always fascinated by like how he was so great and did it so effortlessly and had so much fun. Like it just really was interesting to me.
Did you ever ask him or get to connect with him on his philosophy or just his mindset?
I think he was having fun. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but we, came into the sport at the same time and competed against each other. I mean, not against each other, but at the same time for a very long time. And I think that's what stuck out to me is like, that's who he is. Like, he's genuinely just like being himself and showing up in that way. And it was a really cool thing to be able to see.
That's amazing. What's the vision for you now? Again, after this, 20-year inspiring career of accomplishing so many different things, now you've got this women's shoe brand that which is more than that. It's a bigger purpose and a community behind that. You're a mom. What is the mission and the purpose you have for your identity and your life moving forward?
Yeah, to me now it's about impact. Like to me, impact is success now. It's really shifted away from these performance things. Of course, like I want my company to be successful, obviously, but I think deeper than that, I want it to have impact. Like I want it to change things for people. And to me, if that can be successful, if people can feel something different, if they can feel seen, that's what I want it to be about. And so moving forward, I think that's really where my focus is.
Why do you think people struggle with being seen?
I think that's just hard in this world. As a woman, there's so many hardships, whether it's you're doing the same job as a man and you don't feel seen, you're not making the same amount of money, you don't feel seen. You're having a baby and you have to hide it because you don't feel like your worth is going to be seen. So I think that there's all these different ways that comes out. And for me, like I've been able to talk to so many women. When I wrote that op-ed, there was just a pouring out from people who had their own stories. And to me, that was encouraging in one aspect, but heartbreaking that so many people aren't being seen, aren't being able to show up as their full selves. And I think that was just the eye-opening experience that like there's more work to be done here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I've got a few final questions for you. Before I ask them, is there anything we can do to be of service to you today besides making sure we support the brand, buying some shoes, getting the message out? How else can we support and serve you?
I think celebrating women, celebrating other women. For me, like that's something that I really enjoy now, coming from a sports background of like a feeling that there could only be one and there's so much competition. Now I like to uplift other people, and I think that's something that in our circles we can all do. We can support the women in our lives who aren't feeling seen. That can be a small act of just, an encouragement, or it can be something bigger, and amplifying someone's story. So I think that's something we all can do every day.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I also love to show up for other women. I love to try to create change. I really found my place, being passionate about that and pushing there. So those are two places right now that I love showing up, and I'm really enjoying, fulfilling those titles.